Hello team players! So, if you've seen my last video, you know we got a bunch of new monk feats from Rival Academies. And that means it's the perfect time to build a monk using those feats. Let's dive in. So for our roles, the most important ones are going to be your action economy manipulation and your debuff, circumstance debuffs, which means they will stack with the status debuffs that our wizard in this party is giving us. It will also work really well with the circumstance buffs that our ranger is giving us, especially that lower multiple attack penalty. This build can also do a little bit of recall knowledge, and we are going to have a feat that's going to give us a status debuff, in addition to a circumstance debuff, if they fail on the save. We'll get to that when we get to level 10. For today's Ancestry, we rolled a Naughty, which are spider-like creatures, which will definitely help us out later when we take a certain feat. As an Anati, we get two abilities. We get the ability to change shape between a humanoid form and a spider form, which again is going to be important, and we get a Fangs unarmed attack that deals 1d6 piercing damage and has the finesse and unarmed traits. Both of those are important because our heritage is going to be the snaring Anati, which gives our fangs the grapple and trip traits. Granted, the stance we're going to be taking does give us the trip trait on our armed attacks, but we're not always going to be in our humanoid form. This will allow us to use our fangs to trip rather than our unarmed attacks like punches say. In addition, our fangs have the grapple trait, which our stance will not give us. And some enemies are going to have low fortitude saving throws, which means that it's going to be better to grapple them rather than trip them. And because our attacks have these traits, we can get an item bonus from our hand wraps of mighty blows. This heritage will basically allow us to attack regardless of which form we're in. For your attributes, strength and dexterity are going to be your most important, for obvious reasons. Other than that, you can pretty much put your attributes where you want. I decided to put my points into wisdom for those will saves. For skills, the only skill you absolutely need for this build is athletics. And then, depending on where you put your other attribute boosts, you can pretty much pick whatever skills you want. Although acrobatics could be useful here, as medicine could also be useful for out-of-combat healing. But as a monk, you're not going to get a huge amount of skills, so choose wisely, especially if you have low intelligence, which intelligence really isn't necessary for this build, as we've got another party member that's really good at intelligence-based skills. We don't really need to say much about class because, like I said, we're building a monk. It means we don't get a subclass. But I will start talking about level 1 feats. For our level 1 Ancestry feat, we're going with Reassuring Presence. Frightened is one of the most common and most debilitating debuffs in this entire game. So being able to reduce it by 1 once per hour per ally is a big deal. We do have to be within 30 feet of the ally to use this, but most fear effects do have around that range. So this is very good, especially since most fear effects just make you frightened 1 unless you critically fail. So this will just completely get rid of your frightened condition on an ally, which is very, very good. And for our level 1 class feat, we're going to be taking our stance, Reflective Ripple Stance. After all, we do want to focus on water-based abilities, and this is by far the best water-based stance. While we're not locked into our flowing wave attacks, they are the best ones to use here. The most important traits for these attacks are the Agile, Disarm, and Trip traits. Remember that the Ranger I just covered is going to be reducing our multiple attack penalty effectively down to -2, -4, since we are using Agile unarmed attacks. And we get an item bonus on our Trip and Disarm checks from our hand wraps of mighty blows, in addition to the circumstance bonus that this stance gives us on those. The +2 to our reflex DC to avoid being tripped is also very good for this build. Next, for level 2, we need to take stunning blows, as that's just more action economy manipulation, as we're tripping them, and then we can hit them with stunning blows so they lose another action. So that's 2 actions down the drain. for them. And of course, gotta talk about general feats. And just like our ranger, we're gonna want to take either toughness or die hard here. Again, we don't want to take canny acumen at this point, because we're already an expert in all of our saving throws. So there's absolutely no benefit in us taking canny acumen at this point. Again, we'll probably want to take this around level 15 for whatever save we don't pick for Path to Perfection. That will effectively give us Master in 2 saving throws and Legendary in a 3rd at level 17. Yeah, when it comes to saving throws, monks are the best class in the game. Period. At level 4, we want to take Stand Still. We want enemies to go after us and not our ranged ally. So, if they try to move away from us, we get to hit them. We get to punch them, essentially. And if we critically hit, we just disrupt the action completely. And remember, guys, getting up from a trip is a move action, which means it triggers this. Which means if we get that critical hit, they're still on the ground. So yes, this is another way we can manipulate their action economy. For our level 5 Ancestry feat, I've gone with Hunter's Fangs. So, we now get the critical specialization effect of our Fangs. And, just like our other unarmed attacks, our Fangs are in the Brawling Weapon group. Which means that if we critically hit now, we can make the target slowed 1 for a round. Which means now if we critically hit with our Flurry of Blows while in our spider form, they have to make a save against being stunned and being slowed. Which is another way we can get a huge amount of action economy manipulation. So yes, now we have a ridiculous amount of ways to get rid of their actions. And of course, make them off guard, too, regardless of what form we're in. For level 6, we're going to be taking Flurry of Maneuvers. This allows us to use maneuvers as part of our Flurry of Blows. Things like grapple, trip, shove, reposition, whatever. We can do this for one or both of our attacks, which means that we can now essentially grapple and trip an enemy for one action, which is phenomenal. While that won't make them off guard twice, what it will do is make them waste actions. Another way we can do action economy manipulation is now they have to get out of the grapple, and then they have to stand up. And standing up triggers our stand still, and also they now only have one action left, which is very debilitating. As I said, at level 7, you're going to be taking either Toughness or Die Hard, whichever one you didn't take at level 3. Moving on to level 8, you're going to want to take Rippling Spin. This is a reaction, so you'll have to choose between this and Stand Still. But this is a way to trip or disarm an enemy without having to worry about the multiple attack penalty, as the Agile trait doesn't apply to maneuvers. So you will be taking a -5 if you try to do a maneuver on your second or subsequent attack. So against enemies that have high reflex DCs, this could be incredibly useful. And it allows you to step, which really helps with your action economy. This also means you can just do your Flurry of Blows without having to worry about tripping them as part of it, assuming that they hit you with a melee attack. For our level 9 Ancestry feat, we're going to be taking Strand Strider. While in your spider form, you get a climb speed of 25 feet. If you're running into creatures that can fly or have a climb speed, this can be very helpful, as you can just climb up a wall and hit them. Granted, it doesn't work outside, but we need something to be able to hit creatures that are out of our reach on the ground. Won't always come up, but it is a great feat. And the final feat I'm going to talk about in this video is Wake to Strife. We have so many ways to trip the enemy that this is just a no-brainer. Yes, they get to stand up, but as long as they don't critically succeed, they are at least sickened 1. And if they fail, we also get to grapple them, and they're sickened 2. And if they critically fail on a Fortitude save, then we have them restrained and sickened, which again is debuffs and action economy manipulation. We can also use this feat if the enemy is swimming, but that's not going to come up much, if at all. You can also pick up Lessons of Flux here if you're using this with a party that doesn't have much recall knowledge. For this party, we really don't need it, because we've got 2 people that are good at recall knowledge already. Alright, we're a monk, so no spells to talk about, but we should talk about free archetype. The first archetype I recommend for this build is Martial Artist. That'll give you access to even more monk feats, ones that you may or may not be able to take with this build. I also recommend the martial archetype, as that's just another way you can buff your allies if you're using this with a different party. For this party, martial isn't that good, but if you're using this with a different party, absolutely take the martial. And finally, wrestler is amazing with this build because you are going to be grappling as part of this, and wrestler will make you even better at that. And that's the build. If you guys enjoyed this video, it would really help me out if you subscribed, because about 76% of my viewers are not subscribed. And of course, if you guys want a Google Sheet for this build and all my other builds, you can absolutely check out my Patreon page in the description below. You can also find the links for my Discord and all my other social media down there. And let me know what you guys think of this build in the comments below. If you guys are interested in a ranger build that can make this build have insane damage output, you can check out this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, teamwork is vital. It helps us solve problems.